Hey boys and girls, we are back together this week to create a really fun artwork. I can't wait to tell you all about it. So I have some supplies sitting out here and you're gonna need a paper and a pencil and probably some things to color with. Now, today we are going to create optical illusions. Do you know what an optical illusion is? It's kind of like magic. Whoa, not that kind of magic. Optical illusions are when we can take a flat piece of paper that is two-dimensional or 2D and we can draw something on there using different tricks by making lines or shadows, and we can make it look three-dimensional. Are you ready to draw along with me today? I can't wait. Let's get started. Okay, so the first optical illusion that we're going to do together is going to use our hand. Now, once I teach you how to do this with your hand, you can draw any shape, any simple shape, and be able to do the exact same thing. So there are limitless possibilities. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is just take the hand that you do not draw with, because you're gonna need the other one for your pencil, and you're gonna scoot your hand up on your paper where you can still see a part of your arm. And then just simply trace around your hand. You could do this to a one of your siblings' hands, or your mom or dad, or your grandma, or your own. Okay, so I have my hand on there. Now we need to turn this into an optical illusion. What we're going to do is we're going to make it look like our hand is popping up off the page. Remember, we talked about an optical illusion makes things look more three-dimensional or 3D. We know it's a flat paper, but we want our hand to look like it's popping up off the paper. All right, so now let's move on to how to do that. Okay, so you are going to need something to draw straight lines. A ruler is great for drawing straight lines, but if you don't have a ruler at home, any kind of straight edge something will work. I found this Toy Story sticker book, and that would be great for laying down to draw straight lines with. So any kind of straight edge, a book or a sturdy piece of paper or a ruler. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw straight lines across our background this direction. This is called horizontal. If it were this way, it would be, do you know? Vertical, right? So we're going to make horizontal lines. So I'm going to try to make them as straight as I can, although we're not perfect. We're not robots, but I want to use my eyeballs and make them as straight as I can. I'm also going to try to space them about the same distance apart. Now, when you get to your fingers, we need to do something just a little bit different. So when I get to the fingers, I do not want to make my straight line go across my fingers. I want to stop my line where it touches the fingers. So watch me. I'm going to come over here, and when I get to a part of my finger, I'm going to stop, but then I need to remember everywhere in between my fingers still needs a straight line. I'll show you what it looks like after I draw all the way across. Okay, so let's look at that. You can see how I stopped at the finger, but I came out on the other side. Hopefully that makes sense. So you're gonna repeat this all the way down your paper, trying to make your lines as straight as possible and spaced just about the same apart all the way down your page. All right, let's speed up the video for me to finish. So through the magic of video, now I have all my lines, right? And this is good. We wanted to fill up our page, and it's okay if they're not all spaced perfectly. Mine are not spaced exactly perfectly. They're close. But now what we want to do is we want to create lines that make our hand look like it's popping off the page. So here's where the optical illusion part comes in. We are going to make a line across our hand, but instead of connecting this line to this line straight across, instead, we're going to make that line curve upwards just a little bit, all right? Watch me for a couple of times and then we'll talk about it. So what I want to do, I'm not going to start up here with my fingers. That's a little trickier. I'm going to start down here where I can just continue a line across. So it does not actually matter where I begin. Let's connect this line to this side, but instead of going straight across, now I'm going to make my line curve slightly. Do you see that? So instead of being straight across, it just curves up just a little bit. Now here's the trick. Every time I make a line that curves up, I want it to curve up about as much as this one. I don't want to make my next line curve way more. That kind of messes up the optical illusion. So I am going to have to, every time I make another line that curves up just a little bit, I want to try to make it curve as much as this one did. Not a whole lot more, and really not less. Does that make sense? All right, so you've seen me connect ones where you can just go straight across. Sometimes on your hand, you're going to find a line that you're going to have to go around something. So for instance, to connect this line to this line, this little part of my hand might get in the way, but it's not a problem. Watch this. So I'm going to make my curved line, going slow, not any less or not any more. And when I get to this right here, I'm gonna stop because the line wouldn't be outside of my hand. And then I'm gonna make it continue on back to that line, okay? Same thing for when you come to a line that your fingers are around. So let's do one of those. Look right here. On my little pinky finger, I've got a part of a curved line that comes right here, and then it breaks again, and I've got the rest of this. That's totally fine. What I want to do is make its own little miniature curve here, and then make a new curve here. Okay? If you're using a pencil, draw very lightly in case you need to go back and erase something. So you can watch me do these other fingers, and then maybe you'll be ready to give it a try. So I'm just making a curve to connect this line to this, connect this line to this one by making a curve, here to here, here to here. All right, and now I'm ready to do the rest of my hand. Are you ready to give this a try? All right, see what you can come up with. So here is my paper all finished with the lines. Can you already sort of see the optical illusion? I can. It already looks like my hand is popping up from the page a little bit. But let's take it one step farther and let's make it look a little bit more 3D. Now, whatever you would like to color this with, you could use markers, you can use crayons, whatever you have at your house. There are different ways that you can color this. One way is you can take a marker or a crayon and simply just trace over the lines that you created. You can make them rainbow, you could make them a pattern, or if you would rather, you can actually color in the stripes. So either way, you can just trace over the lines, or you can color in each stripe. Now, when you color in each stripe, you're going to make sure that you are coloring the stripe that goes across your finger the same color. Let me show you what I mean so it's not too confusing. I'm going to use one of these bright markers over here, maybe a pink one, it doesn't matter, okay? And what I want to show you is that your stripe continues across your finger. So if I'm coloring in this stripe, for instance, all pink, this stripe actually continues across my finger, but remember that it curves as it goes across. So this is all going to be a part of the same stripe, okay? Now, the reason that this is all a part of the same stripe is that line continues even though it curves over our fingers. So I think for mine, I'm going to do a pattern. Maybe I will do a few different colors of marker on mine, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I colored it, and then I will show you one more step that's going to turn this even more three-dimensional. Here are all of my colored in lines. Did you survive coloring in all of your lines? Sometimes it takes a little while, but it is worth it. So now, hopefully, you can already see that my hand is popping up just a little bit. from the optical illusion by those curved lines, but we want to take it one step farther and we want to make it even more easy to spot our hand that's popping out. So one way you can do that with an optical illusion is you can create shadows. What is a shadow? Right, so we know that light creates shadows. When light shines on something, it creates a shadow underneath it or beside it. And so what we can do for that is we can take a crayon. It doesn't have to be a black, but it needs to be a dark color. So the dark color is going to create a good shadow. I am going to use black, I think, but like I said, if you don't have a black, as long as it's a darker crayon, it should work. Or if you don't have crayons, you can always use your pencil for this part. Okay, so to create a shadow, I want to go around my hand very gently with the black. What I don't want to do is take my crayon or my pencil and color dark and heavy and hard. That would kind of hurt our optical illusion. We want our shadow to be softer than that. So watch what I do. I'm going to take my black crayon and very gently, I'm not pushing down very hard, I'm being very gentle, and I'm going around the outside edge of my hand. Now what's going to start to happen is that shadow is going to help my hand pop off of the page. Shall we speed up the video while I do this? I think that's a great idea. So I'm about done with my shadow here, and wow, look at how much that makes my hand pop off the page even more. So the darker you go with your shadow, the more dramatic it will be, but just be careful and don't make a really harsh, dark line. You do want it to look like a shadow. You can make it a little bit deeper and darker in some areas, but you don't want to have just like a big thick black outline. Okay, so now that my shadow is finished, I think that looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? So let's talk about some other ways that we can take what we learned and we can apply it to some other shapes and create more artwork from this. Here's another idea for creating some simple shapes that you can do this optical illusion with. So we had some cookie cutters at our house. Here's a flower and a star. These are great things to be able to trace if you just want a simple shape to be able to try this out with, or you do not have to trace anything. Just draw something on your own. But remember to keep the shape kind of plain and simple. It doesn't need anything in the middle, and then you will be able to draw your lines across it just like we did for our hand, and then wherever it touches your object, make that line curve. I had a blast making that 3D hand with you today. How did yours turn out? Did you use a different shape to create yours with? I cannot wait to see your finished results. Don't forget, send me an email or post a picture of your artwork on our school's Facebook page. Now, I have an extra little treat for you today. If you enjoyed making this 3-dimensional optical illusion, I have a bonus video for you after I'm done talking here. Just stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to create a 3-dimensional sphere and make it look like it's popping off of your paper. If you're interested in that, stay tuned and I will show you that extra little bonus video. For the rest of you guys, I will see you next week. Bye! So here is a little bonus optical illusion for you. I want to show you how to make it look like a sphere is popping off of our page. So remember, a sphere is just a 3D form of a circle. A sphere is like a basketball, any other kind of ball shape, right? Or like the earth. So if you get a paper plate or any kind of circle that you can trace, it makes it a lot easier to do this. We are not robots and we are not very good at drawing perfect circles, are we? You can use something like a compass. Or you can just trace around your circle shape. All right, so there is my circle made with the paper plate. Now, I want to take this flat circle and using lines, kind of like we use lines for making our 3D hand, I want to make this flat circle look like it is round, like it is a sphere. So how can I do that? Well, what I can do is take a ruler or something else that's straight, and the first thing I want to do is make a line that goes down the center of my circle. Now, I don't know exactly where the center is, so I've just got to use my eyeballs and guess. I'm going to do my best guess. I'm going to make sure that my ruler looks straight. We don't want it to be crooked. Make sure my ruler looks straight and put a line down the center of my circle. Okay, so far so good? Hopefully so. Now, what I want to do is I want to make lines that create a sphere. So instead of making straight lines, I am going to make curved lines. If you've ever drawn a pumpkin with me in art class before, you remember that we talked about making lines curved so that the pumpkin looks round. Or if you've drawn a hot air balloon with me, we've talked about that same thing. So this time what I want to do is I want to start at this line and I want to end at this line, but I'm going to make a curve instead of a straight line. It starts here and it ends here. So on this side of my circle, my lines are going to curve this direction, which I'll show you in just a moment. On this side of my circle, my lines are going to curve this direction. All right, watch me. I'm going to start up here at the top and I'm going to make a line that curves gently back to where we ended it down here. All right, as always, when you're using your pencil, draw lightly, so if you need to erase something, it's easy to do and you won't get frustrated. Now watch, I'm gonna make another line. Every time I have to start at the top at this line and I have to end at this line. So I'm gonna start here. This time I'm gonna swing my curved line out just a little bit farther and I'm going to end right back there. I have room to do another one, don't I? So I'm going to take my pencil, I'm going to put it on the line, it always starts here, and I'm going to swing it out and curve it back and make it end right there. Does that make sense? I hope so. So now what I want to do is on this side, I want to create the curved lines going this way. Since I made 3 lines over here, let's try to make 3 lines on this side, or how many ever lines you created, okay? That way our sphere will be equal on both sides. So I'm going to curve my line. I started here and I ended here. Now I'm gonna do it again, starting here, ending there. One more, starting here, curve around and make it end down there. Okay? Now let's talk about making lines a different direction. We have more lines to make on this, but before we do that, I want to show you that we are creating a checkerboard pattern, but we're doing it in 3D. Now, do you know what a checkerboard pattern is? Most of you do. So a checkerboard pattern is when you have vertical lines and you have horizontal lines and they crisscross each other like so. And it creates these squares. Now a checkerboard pattern is created after you draw this by filling in the squares in a certain pattern. So if I fill this one in blue, then I would skip this one and fill this one in blue. And then on the next row, I would skip the one that is colored above it and I would do the next one. So it's opposite on each row. I think a lot of you already know what a checkerboard pattern is, but I wanted to show you this because essentially what we're gonna create is a checkerboard pattern, but on a sphere. So we're gonna make it look like the checkerboard pattern is actually 3-dimensional around this sphere. Okay, so to do this, what we're gonna wanna do, now that we've made our vertical lines, we need to make horizontal lines. So I'm gonna get my ruler again, and I'm going to place it, this time, horizontally, finding the middle. Now, like we did before, we don't know exactly where the middle is because we're not measuring it, but we are using our eyeballs to make our very best guess and make it as straight as we can. Once you have found that spot, then just take your pencil and make your line across. Now, a lot of you already know where I'm going with my next step, but let me walk through it and then you can pause the video and you can do it on your own. So just like when we made a straight line here, we made curved lines on either side, we are going to be making curved lines on either side of our horizontal line. So we're going to have lines that curve up this way above here and lines that curve down this way down here. If you hear some rumbly sounds in the background, there are some big trucks near my house doing some work, but we'll just ignore those. Okay, so to do that, you can start at this line and end at this line, just like we did. Watch me. Let's do the ones above first. So I'm going to start at this line, and I'm going to make a curved line that curves and comes back to here. Now, I will show you a trick. Do you remember how when we made the lines going this direction, we had our paper where we can make lines that way? To me, it's easier for my hand to make lines like this than to make curves like this. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just gonna turn my paper. Does that still work? Yeah. And what I can do now is start at the top and curve my line back. Do you remember how many lines we made on this side? It's getting kind of crisscrossy now. We made 3 on each side, didn't we? So I'm gonna try to do the same thing since it's a sphere and I want it to look even all the way around. Okay, so I have made 1, 2, 3 curved lines. Now on this side, 1, remember, start and stop at the end of that line, 2, and 3. Okay, now if I turn it back this way, or if I left it the way it was, you can see it either way. Are we already starting to see that this looks very round and 3-dimensional, like a sphere? How cool is that? So now what I want to do is I want to create my checkerboard pattern. You can choose what color you would like. Just like I did this one with a blue marker and I left it blank, you can choose to do it with one color and leave the next one white, or you could do a 2-color pattern. So I could do blue here and another color in the empty spots. Totally up to you. But when we're looking at this sphere, how do we know where to start? How do we know how to begin this? Well, it doesn't actually matter where you begin. So here's what I would do. I would take my marker or your crayon or whatever you're coloring with and pick a place to start. Let's say I want to start right here. So I'm going to fill in this blue square. And then I know now from this starting point what to do. I have to skip the squares that are next to it if I want to create that checkerboard pattern. The checkerboard pattern will be color 1, skip 1, color 1, skip 1. So it doesn't matter where I start because I'm going to color 1 and skip 1. Now, I actually started in the middle, so if I'm going down this line, I can just go backwards. I know I need to skip this one. Sometimes it gets a little tricky to see which squares are in the same line. Remember, a regular checkerboard, you have straight lines, but since this one is curved, your eye is going to have to follow the line from the littlest square all the way across to the other side. And they will not all be the exact same size, will they? Okay? Now, what am I going to do on the next row? I cannot, in a checkerboard pattern, fill in a square underneath one that's already filled in. So I know that on this next row, I'm going to skip the ones under the colored ones, okay? So over here, I didn't color this itty bitty teeny tiny curved square, so I need to color the one that is underneath it. Skip this one, because that one's colored, and fill in this one that's underneath it. Boys and girls, my best advice to you is to take your time. No need to rush through this. And if you take your time, the more time your brain has to think about what you're doing. Will you possibly make a mistake while you're coloring? Yep, that's a possibility. It happens sometimes, doesn't it? But if you do, it is okay. Take a deep breath and then just keep on going. All right, so I'm skipping this one and filling this one in. Are you getting the hang of this, boys and girls? Okay, hopefully so. I'm going to finish filling in this sphere, then I'll come back to show you what to do in the background. When you get to the edges, sometimes these shapes look really crazy and wonky, and I get that. It's a little bit trickier to figure out what to do. Just do your best. I know they're gonna look really stretched out, but I promise you at the end of this, nobody's really gonna be looking at all of those along the edge. Okay, so now that we've got our sphere filled in with our marker, we are gonna work on the background. Now, to make this look like a really fun optical illusion, the background is also going to be a checkerboard, but it's just gonna be a straight checkerboard like this one, okay? And that's gonna really show the difference between your sphere with the curved line checkerboard and the background that is flat. Remember, we're creating the illusion that that sphere is 3D and popping off of our paper, and the background is just flat. Now I'm creating my vertical lines for my checkerboard. Remember, when you get to the sphere, to stop your line, you don't need to draw a line through the sphere, okay? So I'm gonna create my vertical lines, and then I'll create my horizontal, and then I can fill that in like a checkerboard as well. So here is my background, pretty much finished, and it has that flat checkerboard to it. Sometimes you are going to have to use your detective skills to figure out on this side which ones are going to be colored, because you can't see all the ones underneath. But I'm pretty sure that you can figure it out. Now, this already looks really cool. We've got this sphere popping off the page, and it looks like it has a flat background and a 3D sphere. But we can do the same thing that we did with our hands, and we can add a gentle shadow around the outside edge of our sphere and make it pop off the page even more. Here's my completed shadow with my sphere just popping off of the page. This was so much fun. If you try this today, I would absolutely love to see a picture of your results. Okay, have fun creating. Bye.